All right. Well, okay, guys, we are the final stop of Missionary Trip number 2. I've got the city, and you guys remember from last week, this was the one city in the empire, the one that Paul was actually said he was afraid to go to. Okay, Paul, who was tough, who got stoned in the city and went back the next day. Paul said he was actually terrified to preach in this city. And who remembers why? Yeah, this city had a reputation. They were known as the sex capital of the empire. This was the dirtiest city in the whole empire, Corinth. And Paul was terrified of going there. And a little secret that I'm not going to put in the manga, I'm not going to put in this, but I'll just tell you guys face to face. He was actually not only afraid, but he was feeling really discouraged at this point in his trip. It had been a year and a half away from his church family, and he'd basically gotten kicked out of most of the city. The last 3 cities in a row he'd gotten kicked out of. Philippi not only did he get kicked out, he got beaten, stripped naked, and then beaten and then put in prison. Even though it turned out cool, the jailer got saved. But that was discouraging to be forced out of that city, and then forced out of Thessalonica, and then forced out of Berea. Even though there were Christians that became Christians through his ministry, when he got here, and then he was harassed in Athens too. So yeah, the gospel was going out, people were getting saved, but he was pretty discouraged. And Paul is tough, but even warriors, even tough guys need encouragement sometimes. So I just want to encourage you to think, who in your life seems like they're really tough? Like they seem like a warrior, someone like Apostle Paul. It might be that they just don't show when they're discouraged as much. And so if you've got some tough people in your world that they always seem strong, don't forget to give them encouragement because they might need that too. All right, so now Paul's discouraged and tired, and he comes to the sex capital of the empire. All right, but he was a warrior, and he kept going. He's on missionary trip number 2. So he left Athens, walked to the street to Corinth, took a deep breath, and walked into this city. And what you're going to see next is that when we're at really discouraged points, and you guys are young, so you're just going to find this out. When you're in a really discouraging season of life where it seems like everything's going wrong, if you hang on and you don't compromise to darkness, you just hang on to Jesus, he almost always gives special gifts to encourage us. So if you're in one of those points, just hang on. Paul hung on. He didn't bail and go home. This is too hard. I'm giving up. No, he kept going forward even though he was discouraged. And almost as soon as he got to this city, little gifts from God dropped down. I've got 4 gifts. Gift number 1, as soon as he got to this city, he met this couple. The guy on the right, his name's Aquila, and that's his wife next to him, Priscilla. Now, Paul was a tent maker. Did you guys know he had a job? Like, that's how he bought food and that kind of things. He wasn't just a full-time preacher. He worked. He worked in the mornings and the evenings, and then he did his preaching and his discipling in the middle of the day. Yeah, he worked hard at tent making. Well, he got to this city, Corinth, and he thought maybe I'd be alone in this city. And this couple, this Jewish couple that had gotten kicked out of Rome, were there in Corinth. And they were Jewish like him. They were tent makers like him, so they knew his trade, and they became Christians. So instantly he had a bond, and he had this group of, this couple that became his friends. That was like God's first sweet little gift to him there. Because remember, me, Silas, and Timothy, we were still up north in the other cities. So Paul was by himself. He was supposed to be waiting for us, but you know Paul, right? He preached in Athens. He walked to this city and started preaching there too. So it was really cool. While he was waiting for us to get there, God gave Paul a couple new friends as well. All right, gift number 2 is, first I should say, Paul, where do you think he went first when he got to this city? Yep, he looked for a Jewish synagogue, and there was one, even in a city like Corinth, okay, the dirtiest city in the empire. There was a synagogue of Jews. So he went there, he tried to reason with the Jews. But yeah, then gift number 2 came along, and it was this. Me, Silas, and Timothy finally got down there to him, okay, from the northern cities that he had gotten kicked out of after preaching. And the Christians in those cities felt so bad for Paul, and they loved him so much, even though the Jews that didn't believe kicked him out. They collected some money. They said, let's get together an offering for him and just show him how much we love him and we appreciate him. So they got together a love offering. And guys, it was buco money. Now you hear that sound? you might think that's not like a lot of money. That's not paper. We didn't have paper money. That's weird. You guys are weird. I've seen what you guys do. I don't know. Why do you think paper is valuable? You know, they just print that stuff off somewhere. Like this stuff, silver and gold, that should be the money you are using. That was the money that we use. They brought a huge gift to Paul. Something like maybe a year's wages. Think about how nice that would be. I don't know how much money that would be there in America in 2020, but it was a lot of money, a lot of coins. And basically he got to stop working and just go full-time preaching in this city once that gift came. And he was getting older, you know, he got to stop working. That was really a sweet gift. So that was gift number 2. So he just started preaching to the Jews like full-time, basically, and preaching to them, Jesus is the chosen one, okay? But yeah, the Jewish people there in that city, some of them believed, but the ones that didn't believe got really mean and rude with him. Okay, and I'm not going to share any of his preaching today. We did that last week, but today in the story, it's more about Paul and the gifts God gave him. So they got mad at him, and when they started verbally abusing him, he said this. He went up to them and he said like this: "Since you guys reject the message," he said this. He shook out his clothes. He went like this. He was like, and that was a sign of saying, "It's on you. I warned you. I taught you the truth about the chosen one. You've rejected it." And he said, "Your blood is on your own head. That's on you now. I warned you. I gave you the message that Jesus gave me to give you, and I love you, but I'm leaving now." And he said, "From now on, I'm going to go to the Gentiles." And so his rest of the time in Corinth, he just only preached to non-Jewish people. And he didn't have to go far, because the synagogue, right next door to the synagogue, there was a guy named Titus. Tedious Justus, but I'm just going to say Titus. He was a Roman. Okay, clearly with a name like that, you're Roman. But he was rich. He had become a Christian through Paul's preaching, and he had a huge house. So Paul was like, "I'm done with the synagogue." He went right next door into this guy's house and started teaching from that place. And a bunch of Jewish people and Gentile people got saved. And Titus's house actually became the house that the church met in for years in the city of Corinth. His personal name was Gaius, and Paul's going to mention him in some of his letters later. So when you see that, that's a little spoiler. But all right, gift number 3 then. He's meeting with these Gentiles. And all of a sudden, I don't know how many weeks it was, if it was a week or if it was a month later, the leader of the synagogue next door, the leader of that Jewish synagogue, actually started believing Jesus was the chosen one. So the synagogue, the Jews had kicked him out, and then the leader was thinking about it, and Paul had planted that seed, and the gospel is powerful, and he was seeking the truth, and he ended up becoming a believer. So talk about awkward. They kicked him out of the synagogue, then the leader of the synagogue was like, "Actually, I'm going with them." So he started coming next door and meet with them. The rest of the Jews didn't. They got a new synagogue leader. But Crispus, that was his name, became a believer. It was a sweet, another gift from God. This was the third sweet little gift God gave Paul in this city. And then the fourth, not just Crispus, his whole family and a bunch of the Corinthians believed and were baptized. So yeah, him, his whole family, and some others. And then the last gift number 4, was God straight up gave Paul an encouraging message himself. And we don't have record. I haven't heard from Paul that this happened often. It wasn't like God was constantly audibly speaking to Paul. We know normally the way he speaks is in our spirit and using the scriptures. But on this time, God actually spoke to Paul, and he said this. I've got it written down. He said, "Do not be afraid, Paul. You keep on speaking, and you don't be silent, because I'm with you, and no one's going to attack you and harm you, because I got a lot of people in this city." Would that be encouraging to you? Definitely that was encouraging to Paul. I mean, God didn't tell him that in every city he went to. Okay, some of the cities he went to, what did they do to him? Yeah, they beat him. He got stoned in Derby. God didn't promise him every city he went to, "Hey, no one's going to hurt you here. Just keep on preaching." Paul didn't have that promise. We don't have that promise. You could share the gospel with your friends. They could get mean. Something bad could happen to you because of that. We have the promise that God is with us, but he doesn't promise he's going to protect us. Well, so Paul maybe had he was a little on edge, as he's preaching. This is the 4th city in a row where he may have got rejected. But Paul said, "You know what? This city, you ain't going to have to worry at all, Paul. I got you. In this city, I'm going to protect you, and nobody's going to hurt you in this city." So Paul was like, "Well, okay, if ain't no one's going to hurt me, hey, let's go." And he started preaching all the more. And God, and then the other thing God said, did you hear it? God said, "I got a lot of people in this city." What city is this? This is the dirtiest city in the empire. And God's like, "Hey, believe it or not, Paul, I got a lot of people that I'm about to save and that I want to save in this city. I got a lot of people who, when you bring that message, they are going to get saved. So, hey, that's all a warrior needs. I mean, Paul kept going. Paul actually stayed there, believe it or not, for a year and a half. It was the longest he's ever stayed in any city, this sex capital of the empire, Corinth. A year and a half of his life, sharing life with the people and then teaching them to obey everything that Jesus commanded. So you guys know preaching. What's preaching called? I think I heard it. Evangelism. Remember the 3 tasks of being a Christian? Evangelism. What's the second one? That's number 3, churchification. What's number 2? Discipleship. Yep, once they get saved, you spend time with them and you teach them to obey Jesus' command. Yeah, so Paul had already preached. They already got saved, but now it says he slows things down and he spends a year and a half with those Christians, sharing his life with them and teaching them Jesus' commands for life. What's that called? Discipleship. Yep, he already did evangelism. Now he stays for a year and a half and disciples them. Yeah, pretty cool. So there he is, and he stays there for a year and a half. I mean, his friends are back home in Antioch, and Paul is just chilling in the sex capital of the empire with these Christians, discipling them right in the middle of the city. This was not part of Paul's plan when he became a Christian, okay? And you guys, as you're following Jesus, he's going to do unexpected things in your life. But yeah, and this wasn't just a little trip, you know. This was a year and a half. I mean, how many of you guys have ever left Rockshire on a trip? Maybe a conference or a convention where you've left and gone and done something. Maybe met with other Christians or done some kind of mission. Raise your hand if you've left your city and gone on a trip. Only a couple of you guys. Okay, you guys need to get out more. A few of you. Okay, good. Rockshire must be a really nice city. Well, raise your hand. Did your trip last for a year and a half? No. When you go somewhere and you stay there for a year and a half, is that even like a trip or is that like living there? Yeah. I mean, that's like a major chunk of his life. And so I want you to feel this out. We're going through these mission trips, but these weren't trips for Paul. These were like his whole life. Paul's becoming an old man. He's only got one more spoiler. He's only got one more missionary trip in his bag. Okay, he's getting old. This trip is 3 years of his life. Okay, he's literally spending his life just discipling this group. A year and a half of his life discipling these guys. So Paul's awake. This is his life, and he's like, I know what it's supposed to be used for, and I'll work my job, and then I'll do kingdom stuff. Paul is kingdom awake. And so the question I got for you guys, and this is the big question of the whole night, is are you guys kingdom awake? And that's what the rest of this message is going to be focused on. It's not on Paul now. I want to turn it to you guys. Are you kingdom awake? Let's start with evangelism. Are you kingdom awake when it comes to evangelism? Do you pray for open doors to share the gospel with your friends and your family? Okay. Number 2, are you kingdom awake when it comes to discipleship? Do you have somebody discipling you right now? If not, are you praying for somebody? Are you planning in your heart and mind that someday I'm going to disciple somebody else? If you're not even thinking about those 2 things, about evangelism or discipleship, guys, you're not kingdom awake yet. Okay? And that's where we're going tonight. Every Christian generation has a chance to either get distracted or catch on to their mission. Jesus said to make kingdom stuff the number 1 thing that you're chasing in your life. Matthew 6:33. Chase after my kingdom as your number 1 pursuit, he said. And part of that is, he said at the end of his ministry, go disciple people. So if your ears are open, I have a challenge for you tonight. All right? What I want you to do is, if it's okay with you guys, we're going to get real here now for the next 5 minutes. It's the last 5 minutes I got with you. Are you guys okay with that? Or you just want a safe sermon and you want to be able to go home? Are you okay with getting real? All right, then here we go. This is going to change some of your guys' life in the next 5 minutes, all right, if you're open to it. All right, here it is. My story is now 18 chapters done. I've only got 10 more chapters to go, like 8 more weeks with you guys, and that's it. I'm now 19 years into the history of Christianity. We started at 33 AD when Jesus went up in heaven. It's now 51 AD in my story, okay? So I'm 19 years into my 30-year story. How many of you guys have already read my story before I started doing it here for you guys? Raise your hand if you already have read my book of Acts. Okay, a few of you guys have already read it. Okay. Well, I got 2 secrets for you. First of all, the goal of me writing this book down was not to give you guys history. This was not meant to be a history lesson. Is it your history? Yes. You should know your heritage, know the history of Christianity. But the goal wasn't a history for you to learn your history. The goal of me writing this book down was for you guys to learn your destiny. For you to be able to wake up and fulfill your destiny in your generation. Some of you guys are maybe halfway through your life and you don't even know it. Maybe some of you guys are 3/4 through your life. Others, maybe you're just beginning, but you're not even awoke yet. You get one chance, and I'm writing this book to help you fulfill your destiny in your city, in your year. All right? So, the purpose is not to make you smart, it's to make you woke. And some of you are about to get woke, and your lives aren't going to be the same. The lights are going to start to turn on for a few of you right now. So my question is, each one of you guys sitting here, what is your mission in life? Why are you here? Why are you alive in 2020? Going to school, going to work, eating food, sleeping, getting up, eating more food, sleeping, getting up, eating more food, sleeping. What is your mission? Why did God make you and send you to this city in 2020? What's your mission? Well, to go to graduate. No. To get a good job. To make a lot of money and have a big house. You spend your whole life living that way. Most people, spoiler, most people do. Then you've wasted your whole life. Don't waste your life. That's why I wrote this book. What is your mission in life, guys? Do you know it? Not your purpose in life. Your purpose in life is to love God and walk closely with Him. That's your purpose. But I'm not talking about your purpose. That's the number one thing. That's your purpose, right? But my whole book's not about your purpose. Paul's going to write letters about that. My whole life is you also got a mission from God, something you're supposed to do while you're loving Him and walking with Him through this life. And that mission is this. Number 1, evangelism. Number 2, what? Discipleship. Number 3, what? All right. So what I want you to do now is open up your envelopes. And I'm going to ask if maybe we can get some more of that candlelight power upstairs, if there's somebody up there that can do that. No, speaking about not being woke, we got someone up there that's not woke yet. That's all right. All right, I want you to pull out your surveys. Josh, maybe you can go and push that button up there. All right. So what I want you to do is take out the first page. You can take out all 3, but just look at the first one right now. All right, the first one is mission number 1. And you got to be real. If you're not real during these final 5 minutes, I can't help you. You're just going to stay asleep, I guess, till maybe something else. You might get another chance. I don't know. But all right, evangelism. So what I want you to do is be honest. You're going to rate yourself. You're going to rate yourself. Am I awoke when it comes to evangelism? Maybe you're only 15 years old. Maybe you're 20. It doesn't matter how old you are. Maybe you're 30. I want you to rate yourself. This point in your life, are you woke yet when it comes to evangelism? So I got question number 1. Do I regularly pray for the salvation of those in my life that aren't in God's kingdom? Am I regularly praying for them to get saved? I'm not talking, are you bringing Jesus up every conversation? I'm saying, are you praying for them? Because that's the first step. If not, put no. If yes, put yes. Very simple. Just be honest. If you're honest, you can grow. God can work with honest people. He can't work with people that aren't ready to be honest yet. All right, question number 2. Do you pray? Do I pray for open doors to share the gospel? Am I praying, God, would you open a door? Or are you at least trying to stay ready for open doors? Or when you're at school, you're just thinking about all kinds of things, but you're never thinking about like an open door to tell somebody about God. Just be honest. Be brave. All Christians are supposed to always be prepared to share the gospel. That's our command. Be prepared for open doors. So be honest. Yes or no? Do you pray for open doors, or you at least try to stay prepared for open doors? All right, so there's the 2 questions. Now rate yourself at the very bottom. Check one of those boxes, those 2 big boxes at the bottom now, based on your answers. When it comes to evangelism, we're going to talk about discipleship and churchification, just evangelism now. When it comes to evangelism, you personally, are you mission awake or are you mission asleep? Check one and then put it back and we're moving on. All right, finish it and go. All right, grab your second one now. Discipleship. Again, be honest here, be brave. I'm not going to collect these, all right? This isn't, you're not going to put your name. It's okay. You can be honest. Discipleship. When it comes to discipleship, first of all, do you realize in your brain that Jesus commanded me and expects me someday to disciple a younger believer, or at least help in that process? Do you understand? That's question one. Yes, Jesus has commanded me to do this. This is part of my destiny, the mission he gave me. Do you at least know that? And you realize it? If yes, put yes. If no, no. Question number two, how are you preparing for that? How are you preparing for that? And if that answer to that is, I'm not doing nothing, then put no. Or just put a blank. You can leave that blank. If, that might be, hey, I'm praying for somebody to disciple me. Or I'm praying that God would teach me more about discipleship so I can be ready someday. Or you're doing something. Or I asked the older Christian if they would disciple me. Or I asked some younger Christian if I could disciple them. But you're doing something, or you're at least preparing yourself. If something's going on there, then put a yes for that one. All right, that's it for discipleship. Just 2 questions. So the bottom result, now go to the bottom. When it comes to discipleship, be honest. When it comes to discipleship, right now in your life, are you mission awake or mission asleep? Check one, and we'll move on to the last one. Ooh, we're doing great for time. I'm going to get out of here early tonight. All right, number 3, churchification. Churchification. Move on now from discipleship. That was all the time you need, as long as you were going to be honest. It don't take long. All right, churchification. Number 3. Let's put that one up there. These are easy questions. Question number 1, do I have a church family? Yes or no? Number 2, am I committed to them? Or am I just in the habit of coming because it's what my pastor picks me up? Or because my parents always take me to church? Are you committed to your church? You yourself, not your parents. We're not doing churchification for your parents. We're doing you. Are you committed to your church family? Or you just come because you're in the habit of doing it because it's like what your parents taught you to do. Or I don't know, I just always have done this, but I'm not really committed to this group. Look around. This is your church family. This is the group. Look, are you committed to these people sitting around here or not? Are you committed to them? Or do you just show up for fellowship with them like when it just happens? All right, that's number 2. And then question number 3 is, I don't know if you got on your survey or not, but you can just add a yes or no on yourself. You don't have to write this one out. Are you joyfully serving your church family in some way using your gifts? Maybe it's artwork. Maybe it's encouraging people. There's a lot of different gifts God gives us. Are you serving them in some way using some of your unique gifts? That's churchification. So the bottom one, let's answer this up and we'll wrap this up. Mission number 3, churchification. When it comes to that one, are you mission awake or are you mission asleep on that one? Ready, set, go. Write your answer. All right, now I want you to do is I want you to put all 3 of those back in your envelope. It's private. You're not turning it in. It's just for you. All right, put them back in. And then I want every eye. I got some things I want to say. Once you get them back in and the pressure's off you. Shove them in there. Okay, everybody got theirs back in? Okay, good. Okay, everybody look up here now. Here's what I want you to do. Be honest with yourself. What did you learn about yourself? Because if the Spirit was showing you something, don't miss it. That's why I wrote this book. The Spirit could speak through it, and you could catch on to one of the major parts of your destiny and not miss it. If you want that joy, if you want that adventure, you got to catch these parts of your mission. So if you're mission awake, okay, there was those 3 questions at the bottom. Are you awake on evangelism? Are you awake on discipleship? Are you awake on church? If you're awake on any of those 3, maybe 2 out of the 3, or maybe 3 out of 3, or maybe for you 1 out of 3 or 0. If you're awake on any of them, good job. Good job. Praise God. Somebody has, maybe the scripture or your teachers, you've caught that part of your mission. Good job. Keep going, and may God get the glory. And may you keep getting stronger and stay strong in that area. And now, let's take it to the next level. Your pastor told me, and he seems like a trustworthy guy. I really like his hair. He told me that you guys break off into groups sometimes and you pray for another person, right? Is that true? Okay, good, because otherwise I got something me and your pastor need to talk about. All right. So what I want, he told me, he gave me permission that I could give the prayer challenge tonight, as long as I remind you guys that there's some game in the gym after your prayer groups are done, something with kicking a ball. I don't know, it sounds barbaric. We don't have any sport like that in my empire, but yeah, so okay, I gave you that message. Okay, so he told me if as long as I told you that, I can send you your prayer groups. So I want you to do is you're not going to go to your group, you're just going to pick one other brother or sister that you feel safe with. A brother or sister you would feel safe with sharing with the ones that you're asleep on and asking them to pray for you. So if it's some brother that you're always trying to impress and you can never be real with, don't go to that one, okay? Go to a sister or brother that you feel safe with, that you know what, I could be real with them, and I could share with them where I need prayer. Because you guys know, whenever you're weak on some area of the Christian life, one of the most powerful ways you can get stronger is you get somebody else to pray. You bring it to another brother or sister. I don't know why. I think it's part of God's way of keeping our hearts connected together is you can pray for it on your own. God, help me get stronger. And it's going to be strong. But if you take it to a brother or sister, it's like 10 times strong. That's why he says, confess your sins and your weaknesses to one another and pray for each other. And then the powerful healing comes. So what you're going to do is take one or two of the ones you were weak on, that you're asleep on, and say, hey, would you pray for me on this one? I've been asleep on this one. I ask your prayer. And then they take time to pray for you. God, make them stronger. Help them. Show them a way they can get stronger in this area and give them power. In Jesus' name, amen. And then you switch. And you be willing to support them and live. And don't judge them, point a finger at them. Okay? You pray for them. That's what brothers and sisters do for each other. You guys got it? Is that clear? Okay. All right. Well, missionary trip number 2 is over. Paul is mission awake. And hopefully, there's a few more people in the city of Rockshire that are coming awake tonight.